everyone, and welcome back to English Sports Focus, the sanctuary for advanced English learners and sports enthusiasts. I'm the Pitch Voice. Today, for our fifth installment, we are embarking on a journey through a career that seems to defy the very laws of biological decline. Today, we analyze the architect of longevity, Tom Brady. In an era of high-impact collisions and fleeting careers, Brady's 23-year odyssey stands as a monumental anomaly. As we navigate this narrative, pay close attention to the subjunctive moods, passive voice constructions, and the sophisticated collocations we have integrated. This is not merely a biography. It is an exploration of the psychological and physical boundaries of human excellence. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The G.O.A.T. paradigm and the polarized narrative. In the pantheon of American cultural icons, few names evoke a debate as fervent or as polarized as Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., often unequivocally referred to as the greatest of all time. His legacy is inextricably linked to a narrative of relentless perfection. To his critics, he was often dismissed as a system quarterback, a cog in a complex machine meticulously engineered by Bill Belichick. However, to those who witnessed his ascent, he was the machine itself. Brady's story does not originate from a place of innate physical dominance. He possessed neither the explosive athleticism of a dual-threat quarterback nor the imposing stature of his peers. Instead, his career serves as a masterclass in cognitive processing and psychological fortitude. He didn't just play the game, he deconstructed it, architecting a version of himself that was impervious to the traditional trajectory of aging. His success suggests that at the highest levels of competition, mental acuity can indeed supersede physical limitations. Chapter 2. The Michigan Metal and the Shadow of Doubt. Before the glory of the Super Bowls, there were the unforgiving winters of Ann Arbor, Michigan. At the University of Michigan, Brady's tenure was characterized by a constant, grueling battle for recognition. He famously began his collegiate journey as the seventh-string quarterback, a position that would have prompted most players to transfer. The Michigan Metal was forged here, in the fires of professional insecurity and doubt. He spent years in a precarious competition with Drew Henson, a celebrated multi-sport athlete who was the university's preferred prospect. To survive this environment, Brady was compelled to hire a sports psychologist, marking the beginning of his lifelong obsession with mental conditioning. This period was pivotal. It instilled in him a scarcity mindset. He understood, perhaps earlier than his peers, that every single repetition in practice was a rare opportunity that could be snatched away. It was here that he cultivated the resilience required to thrive when the odds were demonstrably stacked against him. Chapter 3. The 199th Revelation. A Psychological Catalyst. The 2000 NFL Draft is now regarded as a seminal moment in sports history. Yet at the time, it was a profound humiliation for Brady. As 198 players were selected before him, including 6 other quarterbacks, Brady sat in his family home, gripped by a sense of impending professional failure. He was eventually selected 199th overall in the 6th round. The scouting reports from that era were disparaging, to say the least. He was described as too skinny, lacking a strong arm, and incapable of escaping the pocket. This public dismissal of his potential became the definitive fuel for his ambition. This 1999 revelation created a perpetual chip on his shoulder that remained even after his 7th championship. It is a stark reminder that talent is often a subjective metric, but the internal drive to prove one's detractors wrong is an objective force of nature that can reshape reality. Chapter 4. The Bledsoe Incident and the Seizing of Fate. Opportunity in the NFL often wears the mask of catastrophic misfortune. In the second game of the 2001 season, the New England Patriots franchise icon, Drew Bledsoe, suffered a life-threatening injury following a massive collision. The team was in a state of collective shock, its veteran leader sidelined. It was in this moment of crisis that the unheralded backup, Tom Brady, stepped onto the field. What followed was not merely a temporary replacement of personnel, but a fundamental shift in the soul of the franchise. Brady didn't just fill a gap. He seized the narrative with a surgical precision that stunned the league. He led the Patriots to a Super Bowl victory that same year against the heavily favored St. Louis Rams. That game, where Brady orchestrated a game-winning drive without any timeouts, announced the arrival of a player who didn't just endure pressure, he utilized it as a medium for his own excellence. Chapter 5. The Genesis of a Dynasty, 2001 to 2005. The early 2000s marked the genesis of the most dominant dynasty in the history of the salary cap era. Winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years is a feat that defies the league's parity-driven architecture. During this period, Brady evolved from a game manager into a game master. He displayed an uncanny poise that became his trademark across 2 decades. Whether it was the infamous tuck rule game in a New England blizzard or the high-stakes shootouts against the league's elite defenses, Brady's composure remained unshakable. He became the embodiment of clutch, a term reserved for athletes who perform at their zenith when the stakes are most debilitating. This era solidified the Patriot way, a philosophy of doing your job that Brady championed through his own relentless preparation and obsessive attention to detail. Chapter 6. 18-1. The Burden of Perfection. In 2007, Brady reached a level of statistical brilliance that had never been documented in the history of the sport. Orchestrating the most prolific offense in league history, he led the Patriots to a perfect 16-0 regular season. They were on the precipice of immortality, attempting to become the first team to achieve a 19-0 record. However, the Super Bowl against the New York Giants transformed into a Shakespearean tragedy for the New England faithful. Despite Brady's best efforts, a miracle catch and a relentless defensive pass rush shattered the dream of perfection. This 18-1 season remains a pivotal chapter in his biography. It showcased his vulnerability and served as a stark demonstration that even the most meticulously prepared architect of victory must occasionally endure the bitterness of a loss that haunts the soul. It was a lesson in the fragility of legacy. Chapter 7. Resilience through rupture and the comeback trail. The volatility of professional sports was once again thrust upon Brady in 2008. In the opening game of the season, a devastating knee injury threatened to terminate his career prematurely. At 31 years of age, critics were quick to suggest that the Brady era had reached its natural conclusion. They fundamentally underestimated his capacity for meticulous rehabilitation. Brady utilized this period of forced stagnation to reinvent his approach to physical health. He began focusing on pliability, a concept of muscle flexibility and longevity, rather than raw, traditional strength. This shift would eventually become the cornerstone of his unprecedented longevity. He returned in 2009 to win the Comeback Player of the Year award, proving that his career was not a fragile streak of luck, but a resilient fortress built on the foundation of disciplined, scientific recovery. Chapter 8. The Second Act and the 28 to 30 Impossibility. Most Hall of Fame careers have a clear beginning, a peak, and a gradual decline. Brady, however, authored a second act that was more impressive than most players' entire careers. After a 10-year championship drought, Brady led the Patriots to 3 more titles between 2014 and 2018. The pinnacle of this era was Super Bowl 51. Trailing 28-3 in the third quarter, the win probability for New England was less than 1%. Yet, Brady remained stoic. He engineered a comeback that defied all mathematical probability and conventional logic. It was a 60-minute demonstration of mental fortitude, proving that as long as there is time on the clock, the architect can always find a way to dismantle the opposition's confidence through sheer force of will. Chapter 9. The Florida Gamble and the Ultimate Vindication. After 2 decades of unprecedented success in New England, the professional relationship between Brady and Belichick began to fray. In 2020, Brady did the unthinkable. He entered free agency and signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a franchise historically associated with struggle. Skeptics argued that without the Patriot way, Brady would finally be exposed as an aging veteran. Instead, at age 43, and in the midst of a global pandemic, Brady transformed the Buccaneers into world champions in his very first season. This 7th ring was perhaps his most significant. It was the ultimate vindication. It proved that his success was portable and that his leadership was the primary ingredient in the recipe for greatness, regardless of the system or the environment. Chapter 10. The Eternal Legacy and the TB12 Philosophy. When Tom Brady finally announced his retirement in 2023, he left behind a vacuum that may never be filled. His departure marked the end of an epoch in professional sports. Beyond the 7 rings and the insurmountable passing records, his true legacy lies in the TB12 method. He redefined what it means to be a professional athlete in the 21st century, prioritizing holistic health, neuroplasticity, and a specialized diet over traditional methodologies. He proved that age is a malleable concept if one is willing to sacrifice every indulgence for the sake of their craft. Tom Brady didn't just win games. He won a war against time itself. As we close this chapter, we recognize him as a figure who transformed a position of sport into a discipline of pure intellect. That was an incredibly dense narrative. Before we conclude, let's dissect some of the sophisticated language used in this episode. To evoke fervent debate. We use fervent to describe something intensely passionate. It's an excellent way to elevate your English from very strong to a more academic level. An anomaly. This noun refers to something that deviates from what is standard or expected. Brady's 23-year career is the definitive anomaly of modern sports. Inextricably linked. This collocation means that 2 things are so closely connected that they cannot be separated. To supersede. A formal verb meaning to take the place of something that is no longer useful. In Brady's case, his mental skills superseded his declining physical speed. And that brings us to the end of History 5. Tom Brady's journey reminds us that while we cannot always control our initial circumstances, we can absolutely control our response to them. Your advanced challenge for today. In the comments section, write a brief paragraph in English answering this. Is the obsession required to be a G.O.A.T fundamentally healthy, or does it require a sacrifice of one's humanity? Use at least one of the vocabulary words from our language spotlight. I've been your host for English Sports Focus. Join us for History 6, where we will explore another legend. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and keep winning. Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating these detailed lessons. See you next time for more English Sports Focus. Until the next chapter of English Sports Focus, this is the Pitch Voice, signing off.